order Worthington City Council regular meeting, 5:30 p.m. Monday, June 9th, 2025, City Hall Council Chambers. I could have ready to rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome everybody. We do not have any changes or corrections to the agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. On to public hearing, residential property.
Motion to open the hearing.
Okay, second. We have a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Exhibit 1A is a copy of a City of Worthington Residential Property Tax Abatement Program application submitted by DB Properties. The applicant is seeking approval of tax abatement for the construction of up to 5 12-unit apartment buildings on Darling Drive. Staff has reviewed the application and concluded that it meets all the parameters of the program guidelines and is therefore recommending approval of the application. After conclusion of the public hearing, should council concur with staff's recommendation, it may do so by adopting the resolution provided in Exhibit 1B. Council action is requested.
Okay, do we have any testimony? Comments, questions from Council? Mike?
Similar question to the last one. So they do two buildings. What happens to the tax abatement on it?
Yeah, so tax abatement will start the first year that the value from the first completed building is fully added. That'll start their 5-year tax abatement period. We'll continue to adjust every year for whatever value they add during that 5-year period. And then that'll just conclude. It's unlikely they'll get tax abatement benefits for all 5 buildings. You know, they might get through some benefits for 3 of the buildings, but they'll only get a 5-year period out of this.
So 5 year done.
Yep.
So it's based on the land versus the buildings?
No, it'll be building improvements, but it'll start essentially after they finish the first building and that full value is added to the property taxes. And then, you know, if they finish the second one in that 5-year period, which they should finish at about the same time, we'll adjust the abatement for that. And then if they start the third one, say during year 3 of their abatement period, we'll start adjusting accordingly as well. It just might, you know, they might not get full tax benefits for each building subsequent after that, but they'll see a sizable benefit for 5 years.
But the tax abatement is only on the new buildings, not the land.
Correct, yep.
Motion to approve.
Move to close the hearing.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to close the hearing. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
Motion to approve tax abatement.
Second?
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
All right, second is another public hearing on the business subsidy policy.
Move to approve public hearing. Second.
Motion and second, open hearing. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Here you go.
All right, on April 8th, 2019, City Council adopted a new municipal subsidy policy which sets policies and guidelines for business subsidies the city may grant. That policy is shown in Exhibit 2A. City staff recently discovered that at the time of adoption, no public hearing was held. Minnesota Statute 116J 994 requires a public hearing before any subsidy policy may be adopted. In order to continue granting business subsidies and file proper reports with the Department of Employment and Economic Development, or DEED, a public hearing has been scheduled for tonight, and Council is asked to re-adopt the policy shown in Exhibit 2A. We are not proposing any changes, just holding the necessary public hearing at this time.
Any testimony on? Comments, questions? Mike?
So since we adopted this in 2019, we haven't had any subsidy requests that would be affected.
Nothing that'll be affected by our lack of holding a public hearing, but it's just something we need to hold to continue moving forward. and to do some proper reporting with deed, because we do actually need to submit this policy to deed. So consider this more of a cleanup item. We should have done it. It's not a problem that we didn't, but we need to do it now. So
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Motion to approve the business subsidy policy.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
thank you.
Thanks, Matt. On to the consent agenda, we've got regular city council meeting minutes of May 27, 2025. City council case items, application for parade permit for block streets for Whittington Agribusiness Committee. Temporary on-sale liquor license application for Whittington 2025-2026 on-sale liquor, wine, club, and Sunday on-sale license renewals. Dock permit and bills payable.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. On to administration.
All right, the first item is retiring School Superintendent John Langard requested the opportunity to share some comments regarding fundraising for the new ice arena that is under consideration.
So, John Langard, I'm superintendent of Worthing School District, and I asked to be on your agenda, just want to talk about the fact that this has been a 15-year conversation. And the last three, not only have I, but Mr. Robinson and a few others have spent a great deal of time trying to move this project forward. And I think it's of huge value to this community's future to not speak up and bring it back at you folks to have further conversation. In my conversation with Mr. Robinson, I know he's talked about funding sources with you in regards to use of hospital funds, undesignated to have cent sales tax. And along with that, I've had conversations with Mr. Hain at the Public Utilities about what they might be willing to contribute, and of course that will be up to their board. In that conversation, he could not give me even a guess of a number. I know where I'd like to see it be. But really, I don't want to take a bunch of your time. I just am looking at this project, I believe, talks about where the future of this city is heading and the importance of it. And based on my being around the community for a long time, I have not heard any negative in regards to this project. In fact, I know you folks received a lot of emails in support of the project. And I think the last 10 years or more, you've seen some great things that the city has done to grow and expand and address needs of the community, whether it's the pool or splash pad or whatever. There's been a lot of outstanding work done by the city council. And I just hate to see this opportunity get missed. If I talk about the history, and I know I have promoted, you should be talking about 2 brand new sheets of ice. I realize that's a heavy lift. And I also know Mr. Robinson, who can speak for himself, but he wasn't sold on a brand new sheet of ice a long time ago. He was more in the remodel, do that. The reality of it is, I think he's more on the brand new side at this point, but you'll have to ask him directly. It's just like, I would encourage you to ask his recommendation of what he would think would be good for the city and you folks to act on. Ultimately, I put together some brief ideas, You know, if the city is actually in for 8 to 10 million, the school's in for 5. Public utilities, if they would be in for 2 to 3 million, and then the sponsor for $1 million, and you might get more sponsors. And I believe the Hockey Association has gotten close to $1 million. You're now anywhere from 17 to $20 million, which makes this project a reality. And some of that has to happen over the next few months to get that type of commitment. Realistically, I know that you're concerned about the tax impact, and you should be. That's the conversation whenever we talk about a bond referendum for the school district. That is why I pulled in a favor to have our financial folks do a quick financial, here's what it might look like, it's an example only. I had them do a 2 and a 4 million for 10 years. I don't know how long the city typically bonds for their projects. 15. So it's a reference point. On 2 million, on a $300,000 home, it's like $56 a year. On a 4-year, it's $112 a year. If you figure that out, and actually if you go to 15 years, the tax impact is pretty minimal. And I know that's been a concern you expressed. Likewise, in my conversation with Mr. Robinson, he shared that you'll be looking to bond in 2026 or 27 for street funding, which something like this could be a part of that bonding package. So the tax impact is minimal. The other funding, such as the sales tax, that's already dollars you're collecting. And I'll just throw out how you can potentially fund your portion of this project. One would be to do bonding, which does create tax impact, a couple million, which was, I think, part of that legislation originally on the half-cent sales tax. That would be 2 million. If you took 3 million out of your hospital fund and 1 million out of your undesignated, you get to 8 million. And I know you already committed 5 million, and the half-cent sales tax would actually put it to 7 million. So it'd only be an extra $1 million you'd have to commit, which then would give the Hockey Association at least the opportunity to feel like they can reach what you asked them to do, and that's raise the funds to help get to the end. I would even say, I'm hoping you would consider going up to 10 million. And I've had the conversation with Mr. Robinson. I've asked you to ask his view and his thoughts on how to make this work. But I do believe strongly that this talks to the future of this community. And with little to no opposition to this type of project, I don't understand how you couldn't get there. And so I wanted to bring it back. I wanted to come back at you. I do think it does speak highly to what this community can do and accomplish, and new, in my view, is the only way to go. And I would say, if you do the renovation versus the new, the city's going to be in for about the same dollar figure. That's just the reality of it. So why wouldn't you look at new? So I thank you for the time. I appreciate it, and I hope you'll reconsider what you've committed to this project.
Thank you, John.
Well, and I'll respond to a couple of questions that Mr. Langard directed towards me. Yes, initially I was in favor of a renovation project, but then after reviewing the total costs and the funding partnership, I would be hard pressed to continue advocating for a renovation project if this moves forward. Council committed $5 million 2 months ago, I believe. It was good. Without those funds. I just wanted to add, I know there was a lot of comments at that time about the impact on the taxpayers. We could come up with various funding sources that would minimize or at least reduce the impact on the taxpayers. Should, even if we stick to the $5 million and the project moves forward, I would advise that we use sources of funds that would minimize the impact on the tax levy. We currently have at the end of April, which is my last report, we have about $45 million in investments that's shared with utility funds. And we have about $10 million maturing here in 2026. 5 or 6 of those investments are rather large, that are 4 or 5 years old, that are very low return rates. And they'll either be reinvested or held as cash. One of my cautions is 2025, we have a very big roadway utility construction budget, just under $10 million in total street projects are budgeted for 2025. Of that, $2 million is in federal funds, the rest is coming from various other local sort of funds. So I am cautious about extending ourselves too far, especially with the maybe less responsible spending that our federal and state governments have taken on that we do as the city, which can negatively impact us. I think I would feel comfortable if the city committed somewhere between $7 to $8 million, but spread that commitment, those sources of funds, over a number of different sources. We have future sales taxes going to be collected, we have hospital funds, and we have some undesignated funds. So, like you mentioned, likely we'll be bonding in 2026, 2027 at the latest, to replenish our street funds. If we move forward with this project, we would probably add some amount to that bond to cover an ice arena portion. That would be the amount that would impact the taxpayers within the general levy. And then I would study ways to use current funds or future funds coming in so as not to impact the levy and be on the backs of the taxpayers, so that we could minimize that. So as we...
Thank you, John, for your comments. I appreciate them. To me, there's no question we need to do something with the new arena. But where I'm troubled at is the initial $5 million that we've committed, where that's coming from and how that affects the tax, property taxes. Then the additional $5 million, how that affects property tax rolls. The other issue is, seems to me the school's in for 5, city's in for 5 right now, but there are a lot of other entities in this community that we need to go after fundraising. And I want to see what else is out there in the community as far as fundraising. I guess I'm not totally opposed to putting more money into it above the 5, but I want to see the rest of the community step up. It can't just be the school and the county, and possibly public utility. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Thank you for breaking that down so it looks doable. I think if we would choose to commit as a city a little bit more, it would give the momentum to these other entities that you're looking for to potentially put money towards the arena. We need to create that momentum or create that opportunity so it feels like it's attainable. And we want them to keep pushing forward, and we need to, that little oomph. And I think that would help the different entities in town step up to the plate and say, oh, we're close, we can help you with that. Instead of like, oh, that's just too big, there's no way we can make that. So we need to give people optimism and that momentum to move in the direction that it can happen.
Dennis?
Have we heard from the Hockey Association how they've done since we committed the $5 million, or what they're doing to get other businesses to donate?
Nothing just recently anyways, other than that close to $1 million.
The latest I've heard, and Tom, correct me if you've heard something more recent, that the Hockey Association has about 800,000 in pledges.
Do you know?
It's right around 900,000.
Right around 900,000.
900,000 in pledges to date.
They had 863,000 when we started, so they haven't increased very many pledges since we committed to $5 million. So I think they have to put more effort into meeting with businesses and see how much interest is from the businesses to donate.
Nate, did you have something?
No.
I know we have actually done quite a bit of investment for playground equipment and our water park, you know, and I know it was a little over $6 million. The way I look at it is, well, you know, granted it might be open for 3 to 5 months during the summer, but out of that you might have about 50 days that you might have people swimming there just because of the weather anyways. I guess I can see this as being very important just for the fact that we're gonna have this year round and bring in hopefully revenues that will keep it afloat and take care of itself, you might say, you know, and then once it's paid for, then you still have some more revenues. Yes.
You know, that those were funded by sales tax, not by property tax. And that's the big difference.
Sure. Yes, Amy.
I think another question we need to ask ourselves is, you know, like, where do we want to see the city going? You know, where is the city heading? What can this do for us? We may have to spend a little bit of taxpayer money, but in the long run, what business, what economic impact would a new ice arena have for the city of Worthington? So we need to look past just today. What would it look like in the future?
And I think even, you know, Marshall had bonded for a water park up there, which was around 17 million. I can't confirm it, but it sounds like somebody has said that they're meeting at Hampton Hotel, Warrenville out there as well too. So they're already starting, you know, as far as our doors just finally opening, you know, for a lot of opportunity. We're going to have some more housing here, which we're going to go from needing all kinds of housing to 100 apartments before too long. And I feel that they'll probably fill up quick enough anyways, you know. School district has expanded their schools and stuff, and a lot of people look at that moving to town as well to see what our school district is like and to be proactive as well, so I think we can follow suit with that as well.
I'd care to comment on our fundraising efforts, if you're okay with that.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Josh Miller and part of the hockey board and part of the core committee that is getting together quite often, really, every couple weeks and pretty much daily conversation. So the effort is there. We all know that these type of things just don't happen overnight with large sums. And my conversations with some larger corporations have been, we can't even have this conversation until we hear a commitment from the city. And so now that we've been able to get that, we've started going back and looking for those meetings, but you know, those type of meetings are not always easy to get and they take time. And obviously here we're hard pressed. We are on a timeline where we need to figure something out soon. But as far as I know, Sanford, last I heard, is out. We have been talking with Wellington Public Utilities and hopefully continue that conversation, maybe even more this week. Express to them that hopefully, in the next month or so, that we can get some additional information from them, have them make a decision. And then also trying to work with Avera. I've had a conversation with them, and the conversation went really well. But their main point was, and what we're running into is, we wanted to hear and see what the city was committing first. But now we're circling back to a few of those conversations to try and start that back up again. We do have a committee together as well that is, as far as marketing and how we're going to approach our alumni and our current members, as well as the community and the businesses in the surrounding area. So we are working hard. This is a very tall order, but we have some very dedicated people that are putting in that time. It's definitely something that I am very passionate about, and same with the people in that core group, that this is a huge amenity and addition and just a positive thing for our community. As you noted, Marshall is building a Hampton Inn from I hear. That was like a $16 million build, 84-room hotel that is right next to the Red Baron Arena. So I am very confident we will see these positives happen right here in Worthington. And we won't if we don't do things like this. So, any questions on as far as anything else for the fundraising? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other input, anything? Otherwise, we can sure move on to administration number 2.
All right, next item is change in signatories. Banking institutions require resolutions approved by the governing bodies to make changes to the position titles and authorize personnel to sign city checking and investment accounts. First State Bank Investment Services, which is Cambridge, does not have Denise Wader as the Assistant Finance Director as signed for this account. Council action is requested to adopt the resolution that's in Exhibit 3, designating the change stated in the above for the new signer on the above account at First State Bank Investment Services. So,
How many signers do we have?
2, Deb Olson, the Finance Director, and then Denise, who I'm not sure if this is being triggered because we changed her position title, or she went about changing her name.
She got married, yes.
Yeah, she got married.
Can't hold that together.
I guess not.
I move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, resolution declaring city council vacancy. Councilmember Larry Jansen resigned from the city council effective May 27th of 2025, resulting in a vacancy for a Ward 1 seat. In accordance with the city's charter and Minnesota statute 412.02, council shall pass a resolution declaring vacancy. Special action, in this case, is not needed. Less than 2 years remaining in a vacated term, which ends December 31st of 2026. Council may appoint any qualified person to the Ward 1 council position to serve in that capacity the remainder of the unexpired term. To be eligible for consideration, candidate must be a U.S. citizen, a resident of the city, a qualified city voter, be at least 21 years of age, and a resident of Ward 1 for the past 30 days. Council is requested to approve the resolution included as Exhibit 4, declaring a vacancy for the Ward 1 seat.
I make a motion to approve or to declare the vacancy in Ward 1 seat. Seven, and the other
process would be that council, first of all, you need to decide, do you want to hold a special election, which I would advise against. And I would advise that you appoint a person to replace replace Larry. The previous time we had a similar situation. A subcommittee was formed consisting of 2 council members and the mayor. And they undertook, I believe at that time, you put out a notice, a memo asking for
Yes.
people, their statement of interest,
Yes,
those
and
that
they
were.
submitted like a bio on why they wanted to be on the council.
Should that be part of this motion or do that
I
next?
I don't think it, I think we'd like you to give us some direction how you would like to proceed. The earlier time, and this is when Mike Harmon passed away, it was an almost identical situation. It was decided the best route to go was to form a subcommittee so that that group could meet in a not open meeting setting so that they could discuss the qualities of the candidates that expressed interest.
Interviews.
And then,
Yeah,
and then that subcommittee interviewed, I believe, 4 people.
Yep.
And then the subcommittee brought forth their recommendation. When Mike Harmon passed away, he was representing Ward 2. So that subcommittee consisted of, Amy was on there, the other Ward 2 council member, and Chad Cummings, who was the at-large council member, and the mayor. You were serving as
Oh,
mayor
yeah.
at that point. So if you wanted to follow that, that same line of direction, Chris would be the Ward 1 representative, Dennis would be the at-large representative, and the mayor would be the 3rd person. And
Was there staff?
I was, and Jason was.
And in this case, I think, I'd have to, since I recused myself from all activity in this, I would recommend that Mindy and Angela handle the administrative side or whatever direction you want to go. If you, the subcommittee could just come up with their own recommendations and then invite them in for interviews, or you could do a public request.
I think that was about, that worked well for Harmon, so I was there for the next one, but I think that's a good.
It worked,
that's a-
it worked, it delivered well, yeah.
Yeah, I think it,
You want to go that direction?
I would.
Okay.
Do we need to do 2 resolutions and one
No.
declare a vote?
No.
Okay.
Not declare the vote for the last one?
Yeah. We have to vote on the
We have to-
vacancy
we have a-
resolution.
We have a motion in a second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. And then on to
We'll just start.
Yeah, then we can start
Yeah.
this week, I can put them, I can do the press, I think we did it as a press release, actually.
Yeah.
So, I can get that put together.
Mindy found the file from last time, so we have all,
You're fine with that, motion for?
yeah, we just,
We
you
had
gave
really
us
good
directions,
things.
so we don't have to do.
Yeah, we did. So,
Hello, Bill.
Hello, my first case item is to approve task order 35 with Bolton and Bank to provide engineering service for Service Road Utility and Street Improvement. Contract for the reconstruction of Service Drive Utility and Street Improvement Project is awarded on May 8, 2025. The need for consulting engineering service is planned as part of the project due to the complex nature of the project and the current workload scheduled this construction season. Worthington currently has a master agreement for professional service dated September 14, 2020. Task order 35 is proposed at a cost estimated at $127,000. Exhibit 1 is task order number 5 with Bolton and Menk, Inc. to provide construction supervision service for the Service Road Utility and Street Improvement Project in the amount estimated at $125,000. Staff recommends approval of task order number 35 in Exhibit 1.
Again, what was the
$8.3 million total project construction cost.
And this is in line with
Correct. Yep.
motion to approve task order 35.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Second item is to approve limited use permit with MnDOT for East Okabena Trail project. The East Okabena Trail project includes a non-motorized trail crossing with the right-of-way of Truck Highway 60 and Noble Street. A limited use permit is required from the Minnesota Department of Transportation, MnDOT, to authorize construction, operation, and maintenance of the trail within state right-of-way. MnDOT has issued limited use permit number 5305-0008 to the city of Worthington for this purpose. The permit is valid through May 28, 2035. The permit requires a formal resolution from the city council authorizing execution of the agreement. Council is requested to approve the city limited use permit agreement with MnDOT for the East Okabena Trail project in Exhibit 2-1, and the resolution authorizing the city to enter into limited use permit number 5305-0008 with MnDOT in Exhibit 2-2.
Any questions?
Motion to approve the East Okabena Trail project.
I'll need two motions.
Exhibit 2-1.
2-1. Thank you.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Move to approve the limited use permit, exhibit 2-2.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Third item is to approve professional service proposal from SRF Consulting Group for CIP grants. The City of Worthington's 2025 through 2029 Capital Improvement Program, CIP, includes numerous infrastructure projects that may be eligible for state and federal funding. To strategically align CIP project with available grant opportunities, professional assistance is proposed to identify, prioritize, and develop funding strategies. SRF Consulting Group, Inc. submitted a proposal dated June 4, 2025 to develop a funding and grant memorandum for the city. The work includes project coordination, funding opportunities, and opportunity analysis, grant alignments, and prioritization and preparation of draft and final memoranda. Proposal also provides recommendation for new projects added to the new memoranda, added to the 2026 or 2030 CIP later this year. The not to exceed fee for these professional services is $14,976 with deliverables scheduled to be completed by December 31, 2025. Council is requested to approve the professional service proposal from SRF Consulting Group in Exhibit 3 for the development of the funding and grant memorandum.
Mike?
This seems to be something new that we're using to go after possible grant money.
Yes, but part of my budget book, I have a miscellaneous engineering services of about $80,000, which I used about $20,000 to $30,000, and this only costing a little under $15,000, staying within the budget.
So you must think there might be some opportunities out there.
Yes, one major thing I'm looking after is the scheduled in 2029 South Shore Drive reconstruction. We're hoping to look into some grant opportunity if there's any grant money we can chase for. Along that, any other project in the CIP, they have opportunity to look for any other grant opportunities for any different projects in CIP.
When you say for the amount of money, I think it's a great opportunity to go after, try to go after.
Just making it clear, this doesn't include like support of writing the grant or nothing like that. It just letting us know what's out there and telling us this project fits really well with this grant and just telling us the opportunity of that. which
Who would grant staff?
usually staff start with the initial application, and then usually the second application asks us to submit a detailed plan with specification, all that. The second round of application, we might need some help with more detailed planning and all that, but staff will initiate the first application.
I'd make a motion to approve proposal from SRF Consulting Group for development of funding grants memorandum.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Last item is to award the contract for North Ray Drive Extension. Bid opening for the 2025 North Ray Drive Extension project was held on Wednesday, June 4, 2025 at 2 p.m. A total of 4 bids were received. The lowest bid was submitted by McEwen Construction in the amount of $198,572.50, which is approximately 21% below the engineer's estimate. Upon review of the submitted materials, staff identified a procedural irregularity. McEwen Construction did not sign the required proposal form. However, all other required documents were properly completed and submitted, including the equal opportunity certification, subcontractors list, and the bid bond, which was duly executed and references this specific project. The project specification states that the 2020 MnDOT standard specification for construction shall govern the work. Per section 1301, subsection 2 of those specification, it says the department reserves the right to waive defects and technicalities in a proposal. In addition, the city's own bid document explicitly states that the city reserves the right to reject any and all bids and to waive irregularities and informalities. Therein, the further reserves the right to award the contract in the best interest of the city. Staff has reviewed the nature of the omission and finds that the absence of signature on the proposal form constitutes a minor technical irregularity that does not impact the responsiveness of the bid or the fairness of the competitive process. The bidder's intent is clearly established through the execution of the bid bond and other supporting documents. Therefore, staff recommends the City Council consider waiving the irregularity and award the contract to McEwen Construction as the lowest responsible bidder in the amount of $198,572.50, consistent with the city's and MnDOT's authority to act in the best interest of this project.
I move to approve waiving the irregularity and awarding the contract from McEwen Construction for the amount of $198,572.50.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? Chief?
Just want to add that you and I discussed this at length. We have a contractor that has a decades-long experience working with us here in Worthington, and I fully support that the motion that you move forward with the awarding the contract despite the minor irregularity.
Any further discussion? You had a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
Alright, third item under community development is a conditional use permit request from Fertilizer Dealer Supply. Fertilizer Dealer Supply is requesting a conditional use permit to allow for the development of a fertilizer equipment parts retail center on property zoned M1 Light Manufacturing District. The business will be located south of Gateway Drive and immediately adjacent to State Highway 59/60. Primarily parcel 31098100 and a part of 098000. This is the property that was recently approved for a change of zone request. At its June 3rd meeting, the City Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the requested conditional use permit with no special conditions. And if you're following along in your staff report, you can see what they based their recommendation on. The proposed site plan is shown in Exhibit 3B. We did not hear any comments during the public hearing. We've heard no concerns from any neighboring properties or anything, and we just anticipate this will be a nice development in the area with no real negative impacts on any surrounding properties. So with that, should council concur with the findings of the planning commission and may approve the request by motion?
Are the gentlemen behind you representing the?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Is this the property?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a little island in the middle?
Yes, there it is, yep.
That's not part of the property
That
they
is not.
purchased?
That belongs to Shine Brothers.
Okay.
It's an odd one, yeah.
Any comments, questions?
I'd like to hear from the developer.
They won't say it.
Welcome.
Hello, again. My name is Ben Sieve. I will be the gentleman basically running or in charge of the facility once it is built. You know, we started this project with the intention of servicing the ag community here in the county and surrounding areas. With the interest of Worthington with I-90 coming across 59 and 60, driving right past our front door. You know, this property is pretty ideal for that situation. Enough space to erect the building that we want to best service our customers and create a positive impact for the ag community. Questions that were posed last was having that tile line coming through the property from Shine Brothers. Final survey and talking with our realtor should be completed this week, with that tile line being specifically marked to make sure that we do not impede upon any of that process on their behalf. So, any questions for me?
Thank you for your investment in Worthington.
Yes, sir.
It's a great project for our city.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the opportunity.
Very nice. Do you work with implement dealers as well with your stuff? Or?
Yes, we do. Yep, so we do fertilizer application equipment, so whether that be dry or liquid side. And then we sell the parts therein. So we, with our warehouse space, we can store poly fittings for all of your spraying and liquid application equipment. We sell transfer pumps for water, hose, stuff like that. You know, we would have some pull type equipment on the property. It's all going to be new equipment. Once we take delivery, some assembly could be required, which would be done within the shop. So, you know, trying to minimize any exterior exposure, you know, making us look like we're a manufacturing facility, because we're not. We're just simply a retail facility.
You work with some of the elevators around here right now, like New Vision or CLA?
We do have a service footprint in the state of Minnesota. Our our western Iowa salesman covers a lot of the western portion of Minnesota, and then one of our Wisconsin gentlemen covers the eastern portion of Minnesota. So we already have a lot of existing business here in the state of Minnesota, along with South Dakota, Montana, North Dakota.
Maybe to expand that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So you're both a wholesale and a retail? Do you wholesale to other businesses?
Yeah, I would say yes. Yes, we do. We sell we sell to the individual grower, and we'll sell to retail fertilizer plants.
Okay. Great. I'd make a motion to approve the conditional use permit.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
All right, second item, this is another conditional use permit request, this one from Mexicano Properties for a new warehouse facility. Mexicano Properties is requesting a conditional use permit to allow for the development of a warehouse center along with office space on the east side of Research Lane. That is encompassing 4 total parcels immediately north of BioVerse. Subject property is zoned as planned unit development number 7, which is what is requiring a conditional use permit in this situation. At its June 3rd meeting, the City Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the requested conditional use permit with no special conditions, And following along your staff report, you can see what they based their recommendation on there. Now the applicant unfortunately could not be here tonight, but I'll share maybe just a little bit of some stuff that came up. The applicant here is Ephraim Patino, who does own the old Globe Printing building downtown. He does plan to keep that building and continue using it just with smaller trucks. The larger stuff will be moved out here, allowing room for growth and things of that nature. Other discussion with Planning Commission, they felt like there was already a fair amount of truck traffic out in the Bioscience Park area and that this wouldn't really have much of a negative impact out there. And the site plan looks really good and they didn't have any significant concerns. So, with that, should council concur with the findings, they may approve the request by motion.
I make a motion to approve the conditional use permit.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, last item. This is a development agreement with BB Properties. The Worthington EDA, as you all know, has proceeded with the sale of Lot 1, Block 2, Sicily Edition. On January 27, 2025, City Council approved a financial assistance offer of up to $15,000 per unit for up to 36 units. Council also committed to the removal of a portion of the cul-de-sac on Darling Drive in order to allow for more additional buildings. Without the removal of the cul-de-sac, you can't get 5 buildings in there and meet setbacks and parking and things. That approved offer has been worked into a development agreement shown in Exhibit 5A, and Council has asked to approve the agreement. This is going through Council because the money is coming through the city, and City Council controls the right-of-way with the cul-de-sac. That's why you're seeing this separate from the earlier EDA meeting we had today.
So the cul-de-sac work and the financial assistance all in one pack.
Yep. And you'll see on there too that we agree to remove the cul-de-sac if and when it's necessary, which I believe will be the 3rd building, and we'll just have their contractor do it, and then we'll clean up the right-of-way and everything and just reimburse them for that.
I move to approve the development agreement.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
And loan agreement, if I need to modify that to development agreement and loan agreement.
No, this is just a development agreement here in Exhibit 5A.
Oh, will be presented, okay, got it.
Yeah, we have a motion seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, man. Okay, on to council committee reports. I have nothing.
No report.
No reports.
We had the closing, Prairie Acres on Friday. Paid back the city, the note on Prairie Acres, which is a little over $500,000. Paid them back, and then we had net proceeds of $806,000 for the HRA to go to HRA projects.
Very nice. Chris?
No report.
Chief?
Okay, I have a couple of things. You'll be hearing some discussion coming up, and that will eventually become council business regarding stretch of County Road 57 that goes from East Gateway Drive up to Highway 60. This is the County Road access that is out south area where Casey's, the Sinclair station is. This is where the Keepers housing development is going to go. And our new street, East Flower Lane, will access off of County Road 57 or Platts Avenue. We will be having discussions with Nobles County regarding a turnback of that from the county to the city. That will enable us a lot more flexibility and access, and it really is turning into a urbanized area rather than a rural area, and it makes more sense that that be part of our city street system, since once East Flower Lane is constructed, we'll have to drive down Platts Avenue to reach the street where we have to plow, and because of our different practices. We would be plowing Potts Avenue anyway to reach our street, so it's, I think Nobles County is going to be taking this up, and if they are in agreement that this is an option we should look at, it will eventually come back to city council. So that's one item. Starting tomorrow, the next 2 days, we'll have our leadership management class taking place at the fire hall from 9 until 4. We have a rather large group, and our instructor is waiting for me to meet her so I can get her set up in the fire hall. And the last thing is the fire hall open house. That's tomorrow, right, Mindy?
Yes.
Tomorrow night?
Yes.
Is it from 6 to 8? Or?
I can't remember, 5 to 8 or 6 to 8.
Okay, so there's going to be a hamburger feed, and we're using this.
I think it's the 11th. June.
Is it 11?
Logan's?
Is it tomorrow or Wednesday?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think it's Wednesday.
We have an open house coming. We'll get the dates right. We're using it for two purposes. One is to recruit potential new firefighters, and the other is the proceeds will be a fundraiser to benefit Logan as he continues on his recovery.
June 11, 6 to 8.
So that's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay.
6 to 8, yes.
Good. All right. That's all I have.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign, motion